Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So I want to do a Q&A video. So first of all, thank you guys for posting your questions. I asked for some questions on the community tab or whatever on the YouTube channel here. So first of all, thank you guys for posting questions. I am going to answer a couple of questions from the Discord because there's a couple of questions that I never actually got to yesterday. So yeah, I'll get into that here. So before we go any further, obviously make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. Throughout the next week, what I am expecting to happen is, because it is pretty quiet right now, there's not a lot of Walking Dead news, but it does seem like there is going to be some stuff that does come out over the next week, like the trailer or teaser trailer or whatever it is. I do believe is going to be coming out at some point in the next week. I know that there was some rumors that it was supposed to come out in the last week, and so it didn't come out, so I'm assuming at some point like in the next week here. I mean, you kind of need something to hype up Daryl Dixon, right? Like you need, I mean, obviously it still is going to be a little bit away, and I do know that that is something that, you know, people are wondering about right now is, did Daryl Dixon get pushed off to the fall? Because it kind of seems like it based off of AMC's other shows getting premiere dates in the summer. And again, AMC could always air other shows at the same time as The Walking Dead. That's not really the point of it. The point is those shows are airing at the exact same time The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon airs, right? Like on Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern. And it's literally, I think there's 3 weeks in between each show or there's like 2 Sundays or something like that from, you know, starting today up until September 29th or 22nd, I believe, where there's going to be nothing happening. So it doesn't really seem like Daryl Dixon's coming out right away, but I do think that obviously Comic-Con, the trailer, the official trailer is probably going to be released, and there's going to be some other stuff. And yeah, we're just awaiting news on that right now. We're just kind of in a weird area where it's just like, what is happening, right? So definitely make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my updates on all of that. But let's actually get into some of the questions here. So Q&A, do you think we will see a Rick and Daryl reunion? So I mean, yeah, obviously this is going to happen. And I will say that's actually one thing that I'm really happy, you know, people are starting to kind of get now at this point is that, you know, we are going to see Rick at some point again. Like Rick is going to be coming back to The Walking Dead. That wasn't the end. I really do feel like when we saw him in The Ones Who Live, that show really served to sort of like end certain storylines from the original Walking Dead series, but also sort of set up a future where Rick can actually appear in like other shows and stuff like that. And I do think like there's a chance for him to show up in like cameo scenes and all of that in like Daryl Dixon season 2 or what have you in the other shows, right? But definitely a new series seems to be something that is most likely, you know, what Andrew Lincoln is going to want to do, because I just feel like he's very much like he'll pop up here and there probably in a show, but I think if it was his choice, it would be a new series and it would be like a season 2. And I do think they're probably going to take some time with it, obviously. And it's just, you know, the question I have is that new series going to be an Endgame series basically? Or is that just going to be like another series or like a season 2 of The Ones Who Live, right? Like that's kind of what we're wondering about right now, because we're definitely going to see Rick again. It's just that, is it going to be another show where that's where we see Daryl and everyone else sort of reunite? Or are we going to get a show before that kind of thing, right? Or like another season of The Ones Who Live. So who knows at this point, but definitely yes, Rick and Daryl, they will reunite at some point here. And I do expect in the next like couple of years for sure. In the next like 4 years, I would say for sure. Maybe that's too long. I don't know. But anyways, Q&A. How would you personally want Daryl and Negan to die when their shows end? Do you see them dying at all? I don't really see them dying. Well, I guess I could see them dying. Like, it is possible. But the thing about all of this is, like, it's sort of hard to kill off a lot of these characters when they haven't reunited with Rick yet, right? Like, that was always a big part to why those characters were probably always going to survive, is, like, you need to reunite them with Rick. Like, everyone wants to see that scene, right? So, I don't know when these characters are going to die. I mean, I think they could die. I think that any of these characters can die, right? And they should be able to die on the show, definitely. Like, you don't want to have plot armor for all of these characters. I think that would just be, that's just not good writing, right? So eventually we will get to that point where it's like, yeah, these characters can definitely die. But I think as of now, it's going to be one of those things where we're just waiting for the reunions. Once that happens, then I think we'll be in a place where, yeah, these characters can definitely die. Q&A, not really a Walking Dead question, but will you be covering House of the Dragon on the channel when it returns? They're also working on another Game of Thrones spinoff called Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Yes, I've heard of that. Yes, I will be covering House of the Dragon. I'm actually just trying to figure out how to start covering that. I'm definitely gonna be talking about that this week. I mostly just have to like kind of watch probably season 1 or go through that a little bit just to sort of remember some of the storylines and all that. But I really do like, you know, Dance of the Dragons. I love that whole story. I used to cover Game of Thrones all the time. Like that was like the main thing I covered all the time. So, you know, that was a while ago, but like Walking Dead, obviously I'll still keep doing that. But, you know, we're getting a little bit of a break here. I'll still do videos here and there, but House of the Dragon, that's airing in like a month from now. And also The Boys, right? Season 4, which will have Jeffrey Dean Morgan, by the way, in that show. So yeah, I'm definitely very excited. I'm just trying to figure out how to start covering that. There's a lot of things that I want to do. Like Fallout to me was a very interesting experiment in terms of I'm going to try and cover another show and just sort of see how it does. And it actually did pretty good. I'm very happy with it. And I'm kind of, you know, I wish I didn't take so much of a break in April because I could have just kept doing Fallout content. I feel like right now, unless people still want that, like if you guys still want Fallout content, definitely let me know. But I just kind of figured that, you know, the show, it's been done for a while. And yes, there is going to be a season 2. So there is still some stuff that I do want to talk about, but I just feel like there's not really a rush to talk about it. But I don't know. House of the Dragon, though, for sure. Yes, I will be covering that. Q&A, could you see them eventually doing a Walking Dead open world AAA game? Where do you think they went wrong with Destinies? Love all you do. Thank you so much. I think, first of all, with the Destinies question, I think where they went wrong with that game was mostly the cutscenes. The fact that it was not animated or like nothing. Literally, it was just like you would see the characters and they would just sort of pan over to like, you know, this one side. And then it was, you know, I know people are complaining about the voice acting and sort of how the characters look. Like Rick definitely doesn't look that great, but I think that really is like less of an issue. I think if the story was really good, if the what if scenario stuff was actually, you know, fun and the story was actually really good, I think you would have ignored a lot of that. I think some of those issues aren't really necessarily that big of issues. It's something that people are definitely gonna make fun of, but I think if all the other stuff is fine, then it works really well, right? And, you know, I don't really care about the voice acting too much. Like, I think, yeah, some characters do need to sound better. It doesn't need to be, like, honestly, it doesn't need to sound like Andrew Lincoln or anyone else. Like, you don't need that. Like, it definitely does help for sure, but you don't need that to make the game really good. It really is just like all the cutscenes were animated and it just wasn't that fun. And some of the gameplay mechanics, honestly, were kind of silly. And I think when you saw certain decisions being made where, you know, a character would die when they, you know, originally didn't die in the show, it was like, at first it was kind of fun, but it just quickly was like, okay, well, again, the scenes weren't animated or anything, so you never really felt the moment actually really happen. Again, like, yes, the moment happened, but you didn't really feel like it was actually happening, and it wasn't that impactful. And so I think that's where the game mostly, you know, it had a lot of issues for sure. And I think when you have all those issues and on top of it, you know, Rick does not look like Rick, then I think at that point, that's where the game is just going to be a big failure. And that's why no one liked it. Like, no one liked it at all. But in terms of your first question there, could I see them eventually doing a Walking Dead open world AAA game? I could definitely see them eventually getting around to that. But I think it's going to have to be like an actual bigger developer that's going to want to do that. And I feel like zombies are going to have to come back in a big way. I will say, in terms of like TV shows and movies and stuff, it is starting to come back. Like, there is actually a little bit of I don't know if it's because the Walking Dead's, you know, spinoffs are just higher quality, so people kind of appreciate that more. But with The Last of Us and a bunch of other shows coming out, like, zombies are starting to get more popular again. I just think that it needs to kind of hit another level. You know, just like, you know, how big The Walking Dead was like 10 years ago or whatever, right? I think it needs to sort of hit that level. And I think that's where, you know, you're going to see bigger developers want to actually like make a zombie game. And I think The Walking Dead is just, you know, there's such an amazing story that you could tell there because of, ignore the characters, don't, like, literally just make a AAA game set in like a different part of the United States. You know, it doesn't have to be connected to the story at all. You don't need any of that. I just like the rules of the Walking Dead world in terms of when you die, everyone turns and like all of that, right? So yeah, they could really do an amazing job with that. But Q&A, if Daryl goes to Spain after finding out Rick is back, will that make the reunion between the two of them feel like it's not important right now? Well, it just depends on some of the story, because I know that Laurent, you know, Daryl can't leave him, and there's some aspects to that I actually think are like legit. Like, Daryl does, you know, he would feel so bad if he actually did leave, and I think that he couldn't necessarily leave in those situations. And I think that there's a part of it as well where Rick isn't necessarily in trouble anymore, right? Like, I think if he found out that Rick was in trouble and he needed help, and you know, I think he would go back and help him out. But because he's not actually in a place where he needs help, I think that's why it's easier for Daryl to be like, well, I'm gonna stay back and just sort of do what I can do here, because I know that Rick is actually happy and fine and safe, right? Q&A, do you think we could get a teaser for Dead City Season 2? Sort of like an in-production teaser that they did for Daryl Dixon. Yes, something like that definitely will be happening at some point in the next couple of months for sure. Like, I think by Comic-Con, you know, which is in like 2 months from now, a little over 2 months, but 2 months, I think that by then we're going to get the official trailer for Daryl Dixon, more teasers, artwork, this and that, the release date. There's going to be a bunch of stuff, casting news and all of that. I think for Dead City, you know, there will be stuff like that, like an in-production teaser. You know, just little things like that. I do think the first like actual sneak peek that we're going to get at Dead City is going to be happening, or Dead City Season 2 is going to be happening after Daryl airs. And I think that, again, it's kind of like right now we're in a place where there's not going to be a lot of news coming out, but they could release some stuff here and there. You know, I think once we're in July, like once it's July, we're going to know a bunch of stuff. And then for the rest of the year, and then early next year, it's going to be a lot of fun until next summer in 2025, where we're sort of in the same place again, right? It's been a while since we've experienced a summer like this, where there was just not a lot of Walking Dead stuff to talk about. I mean, earlier last year, I guess there was a lot because The Walking Dead ended in November, and then Dead City didn't come out until June, right? So there was a good 6 to 8 months almost, honestly, of like no Walking Dead content. Well, there was Fear the Walking Dead earlier, and that's the thing too, you know, like they actually had some other shows. Like early last year, there was The Walking Dead to look forward to, right? Or The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. There was Daryl Dixon, Dead City, and then there was Fear the Walking Dead, right? The final season. So there was a lot of shows to look forward to. Right now we have 2 shows. So yes, the shows seem to be getting more episodes, but yeah, that definitely is something that it's just right now, again, there's not going to be a lot of news, but as soon as we get to Comic-Con, I think it would be really cool if they announced a new spinoff. I think that'd be really fun, but I don't know, you know, how AMC is going to view that, because if they do a new spinoff, like, is the budget going to be the same as these new spinoffs? Because you kind of want to do that, right? I feel like The Walking Dead right now is in a really good place. A lot of people view these spinoffs as like being really good in general. So I just think, yeah, I don't know if you want to come up with like a Fear the Walking Dead storyline again. You know, it could just sort of ruin, you know, just how people are feeling about The Walking Dead right now. And yeah, but anyways, Q&A, have you ever thought about playing Norman Reedus's Death Stranding? I have actually thought about playing that, because I haven't had a game to play in a while. I've been, you know, trying to figure out some games to play, and that's one game that I was thinking about playing because of Death Stranding 2. You know, I wasn't the biggest fan of Death Stranding. I never played it, but I've just seen the reviews, and when I watched the trailer, it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And I had certain expectations for the game that I was so excited after PT that I was just like, I really wanted a game like that. Death Stranding came out, the trailer and all that, it just wasn't that at all. And it just really, I didn't care for it. I really didn't care for it. But it's been a while since the first game came out. So I think, you know, I might go back and play it, and then just, I guess, play the second game, which I do think is probably going to be a better game, you know, in terms of the story and everything. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But anyways, I'm going to leave it here. Definitely post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.